morning and welcome to Newport Velodrome. Geraint Thomas over there. You're so excited! We're in Wales!
Wait, Cycle Speedway, boy. It's where they kick their leg out going around the corners. So they ride around that fixed gear with flat pedals, and they go around it so fast that they have to like kick their leg out to the side, like mountain biking. It's fully mental.
It's like gravel.
Yeah.
You gonna do it?
No. No, it's mental.
So today we're here with Jess. She's got our new TT bike. We're going to do some aero testing. The guys from Aero Coach are probably inside somewhere. I believe Ken is going to be joining Jess as well. So we've got a rider who's very new to time trialling and a very experienced rider. So it'll be interesting to see the different gains that they make.
I like the bit of tape in the middle because that's where he knows, that's the tape that says put bottom here, I think this tape is.
Ah, nice, yeah. No, if you take that tape off, it just falls apart.
What we should do is we should tell him we've fiddled with something and tell him he's got to work out what it is we've changed, but really we've changed nothing.
I've drilled holes into my shoes to move my cleats.
I hope they've got really good insurance here.
Why didn't you do 4?
Don't know. 2's easier.
It's further back.
Would you ride this?
Move these further back. Is that what you've done?
Yeah.
Yeah, long way back.
The last person to wear that was Chris Hall. How did he fit in it?
No, because honestly, I feel like when I stand up straight, I feel like I need to be like that.
How many people did it take Chris Hall to get into that skin suit?
Yeah, all of us. Yeah.
If Chris Hall can get inside, I can too.
So Ken's obviously done some testing before, but not using the track Aero system, which is the special live software that we've got. So I'll explain how that all works. It's very simple. You just have to do laps of the track. Okay, you don't need to be concentrating on holding a particular speed or a particular power. We want you to be focusing on holding your position as much as you can, because that's where the way we'll get the best data.
You don't have to necessarily ride at 30 miles an hour for the whole.
Nice.
Yeah. It basically calculates your CDA, your aerodynamic drag, every single second as you ride around. So, it is very cool. And it means that unless you're testing things like skin suits, as we discussed, you don't for position, you don't have to ride at race speed. And we had a long conversation about that and how there's a difference between when you're testing skin suits and the effect that has on the speed effects on a skin suit, whereas with a position, it's a different type of drag, so actually it's a bit less affected. So you can test your position at a lower speed and it'll still be relevant for higher speeds, more so than if you're testing a skin suit at 30 kilometers an hour and you test a skin suit at 60 kilometers an hour, it'll be totally different, whereas position is much closer.
When he says we had a long conversation about it, the reason it was long is I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about.
Don't hide the evidence. What's that? Got a dangly string on your. All this money spent on aero games.
Requirements, having the
my
tether on there
Dangly string.
spot on.
You only have to replace your 400 quid Garmin so many times before you put the lanyard on. I am changing my crank length and my saddle height, and then we're changing the front end to see what we can do, see what's the fastest position.
He's going to slam your front end. He's been looking at you going, that's getting slammed.
I can do it.
That's getting slammed.
I can, like, I've ridden it really slammed, and I don't think it's any faster.
He's just thinking about the tunnels, shit house.
It's different. The biggest difference is you have to power yourself.
That must affect your position slightly.
Yeah. So when you're under load and when you're pedaling hard and when you've got to balance the bike, you're going to sit in a slightly different position. You're going to hold your head in a different position. Loads of people, when they get on the turbo on their TT bike, their head's really low and they're like, oh yeah, this position looks amazing. They're like, oh yeah, I can ride like this all day. And then you ride it outside and you realise you're not looking where you're going. But suddenly they go, oh. And then that's a totally different position to what they've been training in. So this kind of verifies what the tunnel showed and helps us find what is going to work in a real life situation. We're actually pedaling and steering the bike. And
It's got a craving.
I can ride around it.
Fizzy sweets. You want a fizzy sweet?
Oh, mate, it smell good. You smell good.
Shoulders in, shoulders in.
Punch it, mate.
And an indoor. Yeah.
Punch it on a velodrome.
I know. We've had it. We've done what? 700 and odd people. Over 700 people, and I think we've had one puncture.
Like that.
Yeah, she's holding lopsided. Yeah.
With that helmet, she's saving about 9 watts.
So that's just dropping ahead. That's no changes in equipment.
Exactly. Yeah. Just lowering her head. Well, the new helmet is a little bit quicker, but lowering her head with the new helmet saves an additional 9 watts on top of a normal head position. Knowing how to sit on the bike and how to ride the bike is really, really important in terms of your position on it, rather than just saying, I've just sit on the bike and it's an aero bike and I'll go quick. It's like, no, you've got to make sure that you work yourself into the position. And if you know that it's a difference like that with just a head position movement, then you'll do lots of training to achieve it, and you'll know, okay, I've got to work on this in training, and then I'll get those improvements. We can bring her in, it's fine.
Do you spend a lot of time training in your position for TTs?
I have done this winter. Haven't got my new team road bike yet, so I've been spending all my time on my TT bike.
What have you got, Canada?
Yes, System 6.
I need a snack.
Luckily, we bought snacks.
It's like, I'm hungry.
We've got some Percy Pigs over there. You look a bit like a Percy Pig.
Pigs will go with the skin suit. So your baseline CDA was pretty good, 0.251. That's like a good starting CDA. Certainly if you've not ridden a TT bike before, that's absolutely fine. I do think that there's a lot we can do in terms of your position and how you hold yourself on the bike to make yourself more aerodynamic. And that's what we found when we asked you to lower your head. So from your baseline position, 251. When you lowered your head, it went down to 242. So at 40 kilometers an hour, that's a difference of 7.5 watts, just from dropping your head down. And we found that no matter what helmet we chose, it was 7 to 8 watts every time you lowered your head.
You had many changes?
Not yet, just like putting my head, well, not that, but putting my head down.
Yeah.
And actually, I feel myself getting quicker as soon as I just put my head down, which is nuts. And then next, they're going to make me like change my arm position, which I'm really nervous about because I'm just like, and like shuffle forward and backwards on my saddle to see what happens.
It's crazy how much difference it can make without even making a change to the bike so far. It's just your body position.
Just like.
See my aero position at the end there?
Yeah, that was great.
It's really aero if you stick your feet out to the side.
Please don't say that so seriously, because people will do it. They trust you, Ken.
Don't try this
the
at home,
internet
kids.
trusts you.
They're the secret, Francis.
Yeah?
The secret to be an aero
Yeah.
is you've got to have short legs.
Be smaller.
I'm alright then. Does it make a difference?
Yeah, it feels weird.
It's longer.
Yeah, we went to longer cranks, and it's only 7.5 mil, which doesn't sound a lot, but it feels totally different. Do you think it's like that much?
Go on, Jess, can you read that?
Yeah.
So this looks like it's
Bridoli pobl I fod in hapusat can iacach, which actually means inspiring people to be happier and healthier.
So what I want you to do is hold the handlebars like this. So I want you to have your thumbs together. So you want to close off that gap. So don't hold them like there or hands wrapped round. I want you to be covering the shifters completely and have your thumbs like that. And I want you to, as you go out, just think about your head position. Don't try and force it super low, but just think about, because obviously your hands are going to be closer to your head, so it's a better cue to keep your head lower. And then when Gary says so, I want you to then lower your head a little bit more. And just think about dropping it down between your shoulders and still look where you're going.
Is that sort of hand position something people can do at home that will generally be faster?
Yeah, so if you start off with a hand position that's like this, pretty much 9 times out of 10 we find that it's much quicker to roll your hands in and then close off that gap at the front. Yeah, that tends to be a lot faster for most people. From there, if you then go like higher or lower, that tends to be a bit more individual, but most of the time, a lot of people you see holding the bars like this, and best thing to do is just to roll them in slightly. So that position with your head lower, in combination with your head lower, is 11.5 watts up on baseline.
When's our aero session?
Was pretty much similar to before.
Company expenses.
We've got to focus on the van, get a van aero. That's where we're best.
Get the van aero.
Yeah. That's where we operate best, inside the van.
Fair.
I don't know what the saddle height is now, but it was at least 4 or 5 centimetres lower than what I raced at last year.
But then because we put longer cranks on the leg extension, you get an extra 7.5 mil with the longer cranks.
Yeah,
so.
If I went to the bike fitter and said put my saddle height at the absolute biomechanical optimum, it would be about 2 centimetres higher.
Yeah.
But you can see on here that optimum is going to be really bad in terms of aero.
And because you're quick, you're so quick that you can't afford to lose.
One more time.
And because you're a hobby cyclist. because you're good. You can't afford to. The tipping point for you is going to be different for someone else.
Okay.
Like 0.001 off your CDA is going to be like a 3 watt difference.
Yeah.
So you could make a very small change, and you won't be able to make up for it with power output.
Mm-hmm. So
you have to focus more because you're going faster on the aerodynamics rather than biomechanics. But I'm very I mean, my background's in biomechanics. I want to make sure that you can still pedal the bike and that we get the most power out of you, which is why I wanted to go up with the saddle. To see where that tipping point would be. Starting off in baseline position, your CDA was 251, which, as we explained before, is pretty good, certainly for just jumping on a bike. And you know, it's not an $8 grand TT bike, so not that would make, like, you know, it would make a bit of difference. But the CDA was pretty good given the starting position you had. Now, given your morphology, you've got quite long arms, so we weren't going to be able to get you in a position where you're all kind of crunched up like this, and that's definitely not the direction we wanted to go. But we found that your head position was really important. Lower head was much faster, so we wanted to try and achieve that more naturally without you having to constantly think about, oh, I've got to keep my head low. Other ways of doing that is by moving your elbows forward, so that increases your reach and lowers your head. That was really good. That saved a good kind of 7.5 watts by going elbows forward. We wanted to close off the front end, bring your arms closer, was 6 watts different, so it's the difference between that one and that one. Going back on the saddle is another way that we can increase your reach. Now, that can compress your hip flexors a little bit. It's something that we did with Ken. But I was quite happy with your saddle height where it was, so if we were going to do anything, we were going to rotate you around it, either forwards or back. Back on the saddle did achieve that, so it did help lower your head slightly, and you saved around sort of 5.5 watts. But we found that coming forwards on the saddle also saves about 5.5 watts, and that's because when you come forwards, you find yourself pulling in and your shoulders come in slightly. We then made a series of adjustments. So we brought the extensions forward to get you that extra reach. We moved your the pads in to bring your elbows in closer. We got the extensions closer to close your hands off as well. And we also moved the shifters up slightly because we tried that position earlier where you're holding your hands slightly higher. That was great, and that saved about 7 watts over baseline. When you then dropped your head, you saved an additional 3 watts. Now that's half of what you were saving earlier because your head was already lower. Okay, which was really good. We then made another few adjustments where we brought the pads in another 10 mil each side. We also dropped the stack down 10 mil to help again tip you forwards. And asked you to focus on your head, and in total, compared with your baseline position, that was 17.5 watts up. So that was another 7 watts up from the previous one. And then when we asked you to come forwards on the saddle, we got another sort of 3.5-4 watts out of you. If we model a 10-mile TT, right, and we're doing everything at 40k an hour, with your baseline CDA at 40k an hour, you would take 256.5 watts. If we then take your best CDA, obviously that drops down 22.5 watts to 247.5. So about a 50-second improvement over a 10-mile TT.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
At 40k. Basically, at the moment, we've nearly got you a minute over 10 miles. So I'm really happy with that.
Thank you.
That's all right, no problem. The only thing you've got to do now is go out and do a race.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's still daylight outside.
It's hitting my
It's really weird, isn't it?
It's like when you come out of the cinema.
Yeah. Nice little bag, mate.
What's wrong with my lunch bag? I packed it myself, thank
Got
you.
stuff on it.
Yeah, I know. It's Ali's, it's a bit great.
Lunch still.
You're happy?
Good to see you, man.
Nearly as good as me.
You made it look so easy.
How's that fucker?
It's not Aero.
It's not Aero, bro. Oh, we're back on the bridge.
What's the CDA of that digger?
9 million.
Bit better than Ken.